It's just amazing to see how things come together in their work. But yeah, coming together is something to celebrate. And I welcome everybody here this morning and thank you all for coming. Our 2021 global theme is Timeless Wisdom, Revolutionary Vision. And our monthly theme is Going Further. David Robinson from CSL Olympia, Washington, is this week's spiritual contributor. He says an African proverb reminds us that alone we can go faster. Together we can go further. It's something to keep in mind, that cohesiveness, that togetherness. He adds, as we near the end of our journey, we keep in mind that community that has brought us here. Together, as Center for Spiritual Living, we work in harmony with one another, other faiths, and other peoples to envision a continually expanding world. We dig into these truths for the final push of this climb. Today's talk title, I'll Meet You There, is referenced from a poem by Rumi, a 13th century Persian poet and Sufi mystic, in a Coleman Burke's translation. Rumi wrote, "Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other don't make sense." Robinson goes on to say, as we near the top of the mountain and prepare to pause, remember that we are reaching toward an experience of divine communion with ourselves, with another, and with spirit. We see a world in which every person lives in alignment with his or her highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God and connection with each other. A world in which individually and collectively, we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. Unity and connection with each other and oneness is key. There is only one infinite reality. We call it by many names, including but not limited to God, life, universal spirit, infinite intelligence, creator, first cause, or the thing itself. This one that creates everything out of itself and therefore includes both the absolute and relative, tangible and intangible, physical and metaphysical aspects of reality. This one has a threefold nature: spirit, law, and body. Spirit is mind or thought. Law is the activity or mechanism through which divine thought is made manifest, and body is the resultant manifestation. Individual human beings are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe and having a human experience. This is our true nature. When the psalmist wrote, "I will lift up my eyes to the mountains, from whence cometh my help," that's Psalm 121, verse 1. It was a reminder to move beyond getting stuck in current circumstances. Instead, we are to look up, to remember that we are spirit informed, completely, totally, and always supported by and as spirit. It's not the circumstances that surround us. It's not that the circumstances that surround us aren't real. They have the reality. But the reality of spirit is greater and resolves the appearances of separation, its hurts, its fears, and anger. We, and I say simply, but sometimes it's not so simply, we just have to remember to take a step back and realize that spirit is the greater reality. There are always appearances of good or evil. There are individual or global. They have their reality. It's not that there isn't that reality, but there is a reality greater than those appearances. And trying to ignore them is spiritual bypass. Jesus achieved resurrection not by skirting around the suffering, but by going straight through it. He was a supreme example of going through it and not trying to bypass. The psalmist notes that we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, not around it. Only by facing appearances head on and allowing the infinite with us to guide us through will we truly resurrect and ascend into a greater knowing. Then we can establish a new normal, free of past ideas. This weekend and the next couple of days, we celebrate a time of belief that the veil between this world and another world is thin. Halloween, Samhain, and Dia de los Muertos are all considered liminal or threshold days. We can use this as a metaphor for moving past the scary monsters of appearances and into honoring the other world, another world. We view children trick-or-treating with delight instead of with fear. What if we brought that same consciousness, knowing that we are safe despite appearances, to the circumstances of our lives and the world? We can meet on a plain, a field, beyond our familiar one, a field of possibilities. We look at and listen to possibilities of moving to the concept of oneness. In his book, Creative Process in the Individual, Chapter 5, Paragraph 4, Thomas Troward says, what we shall eventually attain is not what we merely wish, but what we regard as normal. Reverend Pam Brandman talked about spending time contemplating God as one infinite reality in her Constant Contact message this week. She mentioned that as human beings, common or conscious awareness and understanding is finite, and that the wholeness of God is made up of each and every person. This unity is a concept that comes with eons of human history of development and conflict. Reverend Pam remarked that one of the most amazing benefits of parenting that she experienced was learning to co-parent with her children's father or stepfather. She said that her opinions about good parenting sometimes turned out to be in conflict with her children's father or stepfathers. Taking the time to listen to each other, provided an opportunity to resolve a conflict and do what was in the best interest of the child. Conflict is age old. Throughout history, separate entities have wanted control. Different parties want things to go their way. If only the other could hear or understand from our viewpoint, they would agree with us, and things would be okay. At the very least, they could agree to accept and respect our point of view. We could coexist peacefully. I call this the field of possibilities. A few weeks ago, there were meetings between the United States and the Taliban. The Taliban wants recognition from the UN and for holds on Afghan financial accounts to be lifted. The United States said they will not recognize the Taliban. And the UN wants the Taliban to get in line with humanitarian norms, including having women in government, education for girls, and an end to the custom of taking girls away from their families to become brides at the age of 12. Finding ways to work through these challenges would avert an humanitarian disaster of lack of food and medical supplies for Afghanistan. People have banded together since time immemorial for survival. They scavenged and hunted together to take down large animals. They would fight other bands of people for food and territory. They learned to fear and to fight people who were not from their band. When in places where there was plenty, people did not have to control territory. And they lived peacefully, like the California natives, for example. This is a field of possibility. Conflict can range from large-scale societal differences to individual differences. A couple of months ago, I attended a retreat in Big Sky, Montana. I had attended this retreat a couple of times before, and I knew who some of the major presenters were going to be. I confided to my friend and fellow practitioner that I was conflicted about interacting with someone who was scheduled to be there, whom I judged to be aloof and cold. This person was going to be a speaker and was also slated to present a workshop. My friend wisely suggested that I had some spiritual work to do. I agreed and opened up to listening to what the presenter had to say. In her talk, the presenter discussed the pain and personal growth that she had been experiencing for the last few years since finding her son when he committed suicide. When she didn't make eye contact when encountering me in the hall, and when she didn't speak when my friend and I joined her husband and her in the hot tub, it had nothing to do with me as a person. When I listened to her point of view, I realized that she was me in a different skin. This is the field of possibility. Heaven is the state of awareness of our true nature. We experience our true nature to the degree we become conscious of it. We actively seek to know the true nature of every individual and celebrate each individual's unique expression of it. This experience of our true nature is sure to be attained by all. As we spiral through this year, allowing ancient wisdom to express as evolutionary vision through us, we take a moment to look back at our spiritual journey. We began at the end of January with looking above, committing to our upward journey. A quarter later, at the end of May, we looked at boldly living a new story, letting go of old stories, individual and collective, that slow our evolution. Recently, we visited the idea of Ubuntu, the concept of the African Zulu tribe, which means I am because we are. This week, on the third level of the spiral, we rise to a meeting point out beyond, a place where we can meet as evolutionary visionaries. If we stay in the field of right and wrong duality, we will never experience the true freedom and love of the universe. We must let go of old stories, beliefs, hurts, fears, and angers. We do this not by wrestling with them, but by looking up to Source, which is our freedom. I suggest we spend some time each day taking an area of concern, global or personal, and looking up with our eyes upward, and invite Spirit to shed light on that circumstance. Then listen. Listen without analyzing to the wisdom that might seem from beyond the veil, yet is living within us always. Let us take this to prayer. Standing on the threshold, knowing that Spirit, God, the One, Allah, Creator, is all there is. It is that power behind the universe, behind every creative activity, behind the love that is the sky, that is that vast ocean, that is the mountains, that is that beautiful flower, that is that laughing baby, that is that purring cat, that is the ground that we walk on, that is the basis and source for everything that has been and everything that will be. I know that I am one with that spirit. I know that each and every attribute of spirit is in me. And I know that this is true for each and every one, that the love, the support, the clarity, the peace, the creativity, that beautiful thought process, that beautiful love is each one. And that each is a part of that one. I know that all of the goodness and all of the creativity and love that exists in the world is a constant flow. And for this, I am grateful. Knowing that things unfold just as they should, knowing that awareness comes to each and every one as they are open to it, and just knowing that the words that I put out into the law come back multiplied. For it cannot be any other way. I give great thanks, knowing that it is so. Together we say, and so it is.